When everything around you collapses, your plans, your confidence, your sense of control, one thing decides whether you rise or break: your mind. The unbreakable mind doesn't depend on peace to stay calm. It creates peace in the middle of chaos. This is not about motivation. This is about mental warfare. Every thought, every reaction, every emotion is a weapon. And if you don't train your mind to stand firm when life burns, you will fall with everything else. This audiobook is your training ground. This is where your mind becomes unbreakable.
Chapter 1. Stop panicking and start thinking. Panic is the first enemy of clarity. It clouds your judgment, hijacks your emotions, and paralyzes your decision-making. When panic takes over, intelligence shuts off. The untrained mind reacts. The unbreakable mind pauses and calculates. That pause, that single second of stillness, is where power begins. You have a choice. You can let emotion drive your next move, or you can take command. You can let fear lead, or you can make fear follow your lead. That's the difference between chaos and control. When life hits you, you will feel the surge, the spike of adrenaline, the rush of anxiety, the flood of what-ifs. Most people drown in that surge, but the strong, the unbreakable, they surf it. They ride the wave without letting it pull them under. How? They breathe. They stop, even for a moment, and they breathe. Elite soldiers are trained for this exact moment. When bullets are flying, when chaos erupts, they do not react blindly. They do not sprint without seeing the field. They stop, they breathe, they assess. Because panic gets people killed, in combat, in business, in life. You are no different. Every day you enter a battlefield. Deadlines, conflict, pressure, loss. And every day your mind will be tempted to panic. That's when your training begins. That's when you say to yourself, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Repeat it again. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's not just a saying, it's a principle of performance. When you slow down your reactions, your execution becomes precise. When your execution becomes precise, your results accelerate. It's not about speed, it's about control, because control is the real speed. You have a choice: react or respond. Reaction is emotion, response is power. Reaction is panic, response is thought. Reaction is impulsive, response is intentional. Every time you feel overwhelmed, stop. Control the breath, control the thought, control the response. You are not your feelings. You are the commander of your thoughts. You decide how long fear stays. You decide how deep stress cuts. You decide when to stop panicking and start thinking. The moment you take that breath, you weaken the storm. You interrupt the cycle. You remind your body who's in charge: the mind. Think about it. Every storm feels massive when you're standing in the center of it. Every setback, every failure, every rejection feels bigger than it really is. But the storm doesn't shrink, your perspective does. Every storm feels bigger when your mind is small. So what do? You expand the mind. You pull back the camera. You zoom out. When you zoom out, you see the full picture. You see that this problem isn't permanent. You see that this situation isn't the end. You see that this moment is just a test, a test of composure. Perspective kills panic. That's the key. When your mind expands, your problems contract. When your focus shifts, your fear fades. Because panic feeds on narrow vision. When you see only the pain, only the chaos, you lose control. But when you see the lesson, when you see the long game, calm returns. Every situation, no matter how hard, has two layers: the event itself and your interpretation of it. You can't always control the event, but you can always control your interpretation. That's your superpower. That's the weapon of the unbreakable mind. When something goes wrong, most people spiral. They ask, "Why me?" They complain. They catastrophize. But you're training to be different. You ask, "What now?" You analyze, you adapt, you act. Because that's what mental toughness looks like in real time. Not perfection, not pretending you don't feel. It's choosing clarity over chaos. It's choosing to think when others panic. Every time you face a challenge, repeat this process. Stop. Breathe. Think. Execute. That's your 4-step armor. That's your system for staying calm under pressure. That's how you build the unbreakable mind. You might say, it's not that simple, but it is. You've been trained to complicate peace. You've been trained to let emotion run the show. But emotion is not your leader, it's your follower. When you control your breath, you take back the controls. You interrupt the panic response. You signal to your body, "I'm safe, I'm in charge." That one breath can turn fear into focus. You don't need more motivation. You don't need someone to calm you down. You need to train your own calm. You need to build internal stability so strong that no external event can break it. Panic says, "This is too much." Discipline says, "One step at a time." Panic says, "I can't handle this." Discipline says, "I'm handling it right now." Panic says, "I'm losing control." Discipline says, "Control begins inside." You have a choice, always. You can surrender to the chaos or command your calm. You can react emotionally or respond intelligently. You can live in panic or move in precision. That's the key to power. The unbreakable mind is not emotionless, it's emotionally disciplined. It doesn't eliminate fear, it organizes it. It doesn't suppress stress, it channels it. Because that's what strength truly is. Not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. So the next time life blindsides you, breathe. The next time you're overwhelmed, breathe. The next time your plans fall apart, breathe. Don't flinch, don't rush, don't react. Pause, observe, think, then move. You are the calm in the storm. You are the eye of the hurricane. You are the one who thinks when others panic. Because that's what makes you unbreakable. The unbreakable mind isn't born, it's built. It's built in moments of chaos, not comfort. It's built through repetition, not luck. Every panic resisted, every pause taken, every breath controlled, that's a rep. And every rep makes you stronger. So practice. Every argument, every crisis, every delay, practice calm. Every test, every loss, every failure, practice clarity. Because when you stop panicking and start thinking, you start winning. This is your foundation. This is the first rule of the unbreakable mind. Do not react, Respond. Do not panic. Think. Do not shrink. Expand. You have the power. You have the control. You have the choice. Remember it every time fear rises. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. You've learned how to stay calm in chaos. Now, let's go deeper. You've mastered your reaction. Now it's time to master your attachment.
Chapter 2. Detach from the outcome. Attachment breeds fear. When you need a result too badly, you lose control over your emotions. When your happiness depends on how things turn out, you hand your peace over to chance. And that's a dangerous trade, because life rarely goes exactly as planned. You can't control every outcome, but you can always control your effort, your focus, and your attitude. That's the key. The unbreakable mind knows this. Results are earned, not chased. You don't beg for success. You build it, quietly, through consistency. You have a choice. You can live attached to outcomes, always anxious, always chasing, always wondering when things will finally work. Or you can detach and focus on what you can do right now. That's where your power is. That's where calm begins. When you attach yourself to results, you create pressure that kills performance. You start overthinking. You start gripping too tightly. You move from flow to fear, from execution to hesitation, from confidence to control addiction. Think about a basketball player at the free throw line. If he obsesses over the score, the crowd, the pressure, he misses. If he focuses on his form, his breathing, his repetition, he sinks it. That's detachment in action. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about caring the right way, caring about the input, not the outcome. You have to trust your process. You have to believe that if you show up with discipline, results will come in their own time. That's what mental freedom looks like. That's what emotional mastery feels like. When you need to win, you play tight. When you're free to just perform, you play loose, you play clear, you play strong. So stop gripping life so hard. Stop thinking that every result defines you. It doesn't. The result is feedback, not identity. Remember this. The unbreakable mind focuses on the process, not the prize. Because discipline guarantees the result over time. It's not about the rush of achievement. It's about the rhythm of consistency. Every disciplined act compounds. Every small repetition moves the needle. Every quiet effort builds momentum. You have to fall in love with the work, not the win. Because if you only feel fulfilled when you win, you'll spend most of your life feeling empty. But if you find fulfillment in showing up, in executing, in building, you'll always have peace. That's what detachment gives you. Peace. You don't need to force it. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just execute. Say it with me. I don't need it. I just execute. Say it again. I don't need it. I just execute. One more time. I don't need it. I just execute. That phrase will save you from the anxiety of ambition, because ambition without detachment becomes desperation, and desperation blinds the mind. It makes you chase, not create. It makes you compare, not improve. It makes you restless, not resilient. You don't need it. You just execute. That's how professionals think. That's how winners move. That's how the unbreakable mind stays centered in the middle of uncertainty. Because outcomes are external,
and you can't always control external things. But the process, that's yours. The effort, that's yours. The standard you hold yourself to, that's fully yours. And when you master what's yours, what's not yours stops controlling you. That's the paradox of detachment. The less you need, the more power you have. The less you chase, the more you attract. The less you obsess, the more you achieve. You have to remind yourself results are temporary. They fade. They shift. They fluctuate. But the mindset that produced them, that's permanent. If you keep that strong, results will always come back around. You can't force timing. You can't demand outcomes. You can only prepare, perform, and persist. And that's enough. That's always enough. Detach from the noise. Detach from the pressure. Detach from the illusion that your worth is tied to success. It's not. Your worth is tied to discipline, to integrity, to effort. When you detach from the outcome, you move from fear to flow. You stop worrying about what if and start focusing on what now. You stop asking, will it work? And start saying, let's make it work. You stop hoping and start doing. That's the mindset of the unbreakable. That's how calm creates power. You have to understand, detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care correctly. It means you give your full energy to what you can control and zero energy to what you can't. It means your peace is no longer negotiable. So stop checking if it's working every 5 minutes. Stop overanalyzing. Stop refreshing the scoreboard of your life. You're not in the results business. You're in the consistency business. Keep executing, and the scoreboard will eventually catch up. Because the one who can stay calm under uncertainty wins. The one who can detach from the outcome lasts. The one who can focus on the process dominates. So breathe. Let go. Detach. Say it again. I don't need it. I just execute. That's your anchor. That's your armor. That's your power. You have learned how to stay calm under pressure. Now you're learning how to stay free under expectation. You're no longer reacting. You're responding. You're no longer chasing. You're executing. That's how the unbreakable mind moves. You've learned to detach from the outcome. Now let's talk about what happens when the process hurts. Because pain isn't punishment. It's progress.
Chapter 3. Pain is your proof of progress. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the signal. It's the proof that you're moving forward. It's the evidence that you've stepped outside your comfort zone. Every time you feel pain, you're touching the edge of growth. The weak avoid it. The untrained fear it. But the unbreakable mind, it welcomes it. Because pain means you're building something new. Strength, discipline, resilience. You can't build any of that without discomfort. You have a choice. You can avoid pain and stay comfortable. Or you can embrace pain and become powerful. That's the trade. You can't have both comfort and growth. Every strong person you admire chose the second path, the one lined with discomfort, doubt, and difficulty. Pain is feedback, not failure. It tells you something's changing. It tells you you're being challenged. It tells you your old limits are breaking. That's the key. Pain is not punishment, it's proof. Think of a muscle. You lift weights, it tears, it burns, it hurts. But that pain, that's progress. That's how it grows. You don't call that damage. You call it development. Your mind works the same way. Every time you resist temptation, you're strengthening willpower. Every time you face fear, you're stretching courage. Every time you endure rejection, you're expanding confidence. But here's the truth. You can't expand without resistance. And resistance always feels like pain. So stop running from it. Stop labeling it as bad. Start recognizing it as your coach. Because pain teaches you things comfort never will. Comfort tells you you're fine where you are. Pain tells you you're not done yet. Comfort keeps you stagnant. Pain keeps you sharp. Comfort is quiet death. Pain is loud growth. You have a choice every day to avoid the burn or to lean into it, to protect your feelings or to protect your future. Which matters more? If you choose ease now, you pay with regret later. If you choose discipline now, you earn freedom later. That's the exchange. That's how winners think. Everyone wants strength. Few want the weight that builds it. Everyone wants clarity. Few want the chaos that reveals it. Everyone wants growth. Few want the pain that demands it. But here's the truth. You don't get stronger by wishing. You get stronger by withstanding. You don't develop mental toughness through comfort. You develop it through consistent discomfort. That's why pain is your greatest mentor. It strips you down, it exposes your weaknesses. And if you let it, it rebuilds you better. You can fight it, or you can learn from it. You can curse it, or you can cooperate with it. But you can't avoid it. The unbreakable mind doesn't hide from pain. It studies it. It asks, what is this teaching me? What muscle is this building? Because pain without perspective feels pointless. But pain with purpose becomes power. Repeat that. Pain with purpose becomes power. That's how you train your mind. You redefine the meaning of discomfort. You stop saying, this hurts, and start saying, this is working. Every rep in discomfort hardens the mind. Every rep says, I can handle this. Every rep says, I'm not breaking, I'm becoming. So the next time you feel that internal resistance, don't back down. Don't complain. Don't retreat. Recognize it for what it is. Your next level asking if you're ready. And your answer must always be yes. When you're tired, keep going. When it burns, keep pushing. When you doubt yourself, keep showing up. Because discipline doesn't care about comfort. Discipline only cares about progress. You don't need things to get easier. You need to get stronger. You don't need less pressure. You need a tougher frame. You don't need to escape the struggle. You need to evolve through it. Say this to yourself. If it hurts, it's working. Say it again. If it hurts, it's working. One more time. If it hurts, it's working. That phrase reframes your entire life. Because when you stop running from pain, pain stops chasing you. You begin to see it as part of the process. Not a punishment, not a setback, but a signal. A signal that you're building mental armor. Pain is the toll you pay on the road to mastery. There is no shortcut. Every great athlete, every great leader, every great mind has walked through that same fire. They didn't escape pain. They evolved through it. And so will you. The key is consistency. You have to show up when it hurts. You have to train when it's boring. You have to keep going when it's heavy. That's how you build resilience, one painful repetition at a time. Understand this. You can't protect yourself from pain and reach your potential at the same time. It's one or the other. You either armor your comfort or you armor your character. You can't do both. The unbreakable mind chooses the latter. It says, let it hurt. I'm ready. Because every ounce of pain today becomes strength tomorrow. Every tough season becomes a story of growth. And every setback becomes fuel. Pain is not the end. It's the evidence that you're still in the fight. And that's something to be proud of. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. You're not falling apart, you're being rebuilt. So don't pray for easier days. Pray for stronger focus. Don't wish for less pain. Wish for more patience. Don't ask for lighter loads. Ask for a heavier mindset. Pain is proof you are still alive, still growing, still chasing something that matters. You're not supposed to feel good all the time. You're supposed to feel ready. Ready to rise through discomfort. Ready to endure. Ready to evolve. That's what makes you unbreakable. You've learned to stop panicking. You've learned to detach from outcomes. Now you've learned to respect pain as your greatest teacher. The next step is to control what you can and let go of what you can't. Because control is not about domination, it's about direction.
Chapter 4. Control what you can, release what you can't. Control is not about domination. It's about direction. It's about knowing what belongs to you and what doesn't. The unbreakable mind understands this. Most of what happens in life is outside your control. But your reaction, that's always yours. And that's where all your power lives. Most mental suffering comes from one mistake: trying to control the uncontrollable, trying to fix people, trying to change the past, trying to predict the future. You can't. You never could. But your mind wants certainty. It wants control. So it grasps, it clings, it worries, it fights. And in that fight, you lose your calm. You have a choice. You can waste energy trying to bend the world to your will, or you can direct that energy inward to master yourself. Because the one who controls their mind controls their life. The unbreakable mind invests zero energy in the uncontrollable and all energy in the next controllable move. That's how warriors think. That's how winners think. They don't get emotional over outcomes. They get strategic about actions. They don't panic about what they can't predict. They prepare for what they can handle. Say this with me. Focus, execute, release. Again, focus, execute, release. One more time. Focus, execute, release. That is your mantra. That is your method. That is how you stay calm in chaos. Focus on what you can do right now. Execute with precision. Then release everything else. Because when you release, you regain your peace. Think about this. You can't control the weather, but you can control whether you bring an umbrella. You can't control what others say, but you can control whether you let it define you. You can't control what happens, but you can control what it means. That's where true control lives, not in the world, but in your interpretation of it. Most people waste their strength on the wrong battle. They try to change everything around them before they change themselves. They demand peace from others without creating it within. That's backwards. Control begins inside. It's not about changing the storm. It's about learning to steer through it. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, your power multiplies.
Because all that energy you were wasting on frustration and fear, it comes back to you as focus. It comes back as clarity. It comes back as confidence. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to solve every problem. You just need to stay centered on what's within your reach. That's the key. That's how you build momentum. Look at elite performers, leaders, and athletes. They don't get lost in emotion. They get lost in execution. They ask, what can I control right now? Their body, their breath, their decisions, their discipline. Everything else, they release it. When you learn to release, you become dangerous. Because nothing can break someone who's not attached to outcomes they can't control. You can't manipulate a mind that refuses to cling. You can't stress out someone who knows how to let go. That's real freedom, not the absence of pressure, but the ability to stay calm under it. When you stop resisting what's outside your control, you start thriving within what is inside your control. And that's where mastery happens. So the next time something doesn't go your way, pause. Ask yourself, can I control this? If the answer is yes, act. If the answer is no, release. That's the system. That's the practice. That is mental clarity in motion. You're not ignoring reality. You're prioritizing power. You're learning to see what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You're learning that control is not about holding tighter. It's about holding smarter. And here's the truth. When you stop trying to control what's not yours, you become more effective with what is yours. Because your energy stops scattering and starts concentrating. Focus is power, and focus only exists when you stop fighting the impossible. Think of a pilot flying through turbulence. He doesn't scream at the storm. He doesn't try to change the clouds. He adjusts his grip. He stabilizes his controls. He focuses on his instruments. That's what you must do. Stabilize yourself, not the sky. The unbreakable mind is like that pilot, calm, centered, present. Always in control of the controllable, always detached from the rest. When things go wrong, remind yourself, this is outside my control, but my reaction isn't. Then breathe, focus, execute, release. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Weakness fights everything. Wisdom flows through everything. Weakness reacts. Wisdom responds. It's not about control, it's about composure. It's not about power over others, it's about power over yourself. That's real strength. You don't need the world to cooperate for you to be at peace. You don't need people to behave perfectly for you to stay calm. You just need to protect your mental boundaries. And that means knowing where control ends and surrender begins. Surrender is not defeat, it's direction. It's choosing not to waste energy where it doesn't matter. It's choosing to channel your strength where it does. You don't lose control by letting go, you gain it. Because you stop reacting to chaos and start responding to reality. You stop clinging and you start creating. You stop resisting and you start adapting. The unbreakable mind moves through life with a calm rhythm. Focus, execute, release. Every situation, every obstacle, every storm. That's how you stay powerful when everything around you feels uncertain. So the next time you catch yourself stressing over what you can't change, stop and repeat. I focus on what I can control. I execute on what I can do. I release the rest. That's your formula. That's your freedom. Because the more you release, the lighter you move. The lighter you move, the farther you go. And the farther you go, the stronger you become. You have already learned to embrace pain. Now you've learned how to channel control. The next step is to defend your strength, to protect your progress through consistent self-discipline. Because without discipline, all control fades.
Chapter 5. Discipline is your defense. Discipline is not punishment, it's protection. It's the invisible armor that keeps you steady when life tries to shake you. Without discipline, you're exposed, you're emotional, you're reactive. With discipline, you're centered, you're calm, you're unshakable. The unbreakable mind doesn't rely on motivation. It relies on structure. Because motivation fades, feelings change, conditions shift. But discipline holds. When the world is loud, discipline keeps you focused. When your emotions flare, discipline keeps you grounded. When everything feels uncertain, discipline becomes your certainty. That's why discipline is your defense. Most people think discipline is about doing hard things, but that's only half the truth. Real discipline is about protecting yourself from weakness, from laziness, from distraction, from emotional impulse. Every time you act with discipline, you reinforce your boundaries. You remind yourself, I decide what happens next. That's the key. You are not your feelings. You are not your fears. You are what you consistently do. You have a choice every day, every hour, every moment. You can react or you can reinforce. You can give in or you can hold your line. That's discipline in motion. Discipline is how you defend yourself against regret. Because every time you choose the easy way now, you create pain later. But every time you choose discipline now, you create peace later. You suffer either way. The difference is whether your suffering builds you or breaks you. The unbreakable mind understands this law. Discipline today is freedom tomorrow. Say it again. Discipline today is freedom tomorrow. That's not a slogan. That's reality. Look at any elite performer, a soldier, an athlete, a leader. They don't wait to feel ready. They execute when it's time. They follow routines so strong they could run them in their sleep. Because discipline turns chaos into structure. And structure builds confidence. When you're disciplined, you don't need to panic. You've already prepared. When you're disciplined, you don't waste energy deciding what to do, because the system is already built. You don't rely on willpower, you rely on habit. That's the difference between the strong and the scattered. But let's be clear, discipline isn't glamorous. It's boring, it's repetitive, it's often invisible. That's why most people quit. They want excitement, not consistency. But the truth is simple. Repetition is mastery. Boredom is the path. Consistency is the proof. Every act of discipline is a small declaration, I'm still in control. You don't need their permission. You don't need applause. You just need commitment. The unbreakable mind doesn't chase motivation. It chases momentum. It knows that one disciplined action leads to another, and another, and another. That's how power compounds. Remember this mantra. Discipline is my defense. When you're tired, repeat it. When you're tempted, repeat it. When you're doubting yourself, repeat it. Because discipline is how you hold the line when your emotions try to cross it. It's how you stay steady when the world demands reaction. It's how you keep your integrity when everything else is chaos. Discipline doesn't ask, do I feel like it? Discipline says, do it anyway. That's the voice you train. That's the voice that separates the fragile from the focused. Real discipline isn't about control. It's about clarity. It helps you see what matters and cut what doesn't.
It keeps your priorities straight when distractions try to pull you off course. And when you make discipline your defense, you become unshakable, because nothing outside you can touch the structure inside you. That's the secret most people miss. They try to control results, but the unbreakable mind controls routines. The result is never the goal, the system is. When you master the system, the results handle themselves. When you live by principle, you stop chasing validation. You stop proving and start building. Every morning you wake up, you are given a choice: chaos or control, excuses or execution, comfort or consistency. You have a choice, and that choice, repeated 1,000 times, becomes your life. Stop saying you need motivation. You don't. You need discipline. You need structure. You need a non-negotiable standard. Because discipline is not what you do once. It's what you do when no one's watching. It's the quiet repetition that builds confidence. It's the daily action that creates the unbreakable mind. Here's the truth. You can't control everything, but you can control your standards. And when your standards rise, your results follow. Every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. Discipline is how you cast those votes. So protect your time, protect your habits, protect your energy. That's how you defend yourself in a distracted world. Your boundaries are your strength. Your routines are your armor. Your discipline is your defense. When life hits, discipline steadies you. When doubt whispers, discipline answers. When fear grows, discipline moves forward anyway. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. Because consistency beats intensity every time. The person who keeps showing up wins. That's the rule. That's the truth. That's the path. Discipline doesn't make you rigid. It makes you reliable. It doesn't trap you. It frees you. Because when you live by discipline, you no longer waste energy deciding what to do. You just do it. That's real power. That's real freedom. Remember, discipline protects your peace. Discipline protects your focus. Discipline protects your purpose. You don't need motivation to start. You need standards to sustain. That's how you defend your growth. You've learned how to control what you can. Now, through discipline, you're learning to sustain that control. But discipline is only effective when it stands firm against weakness. When you stop negotiating with the part of you that wants to quit, that's when real strength begins.
Chapter 6. Never negotiate with weakness. Weakness has a voice. You know that voice. It whispers when you're tired. It speaks when things get hard. It tells you, rest a little longer. You've done enough. Skip it today. No one will know. But the unbreakable mind hears that voice and refuses to negotiate. You don't reason with weakness. You replace it with standards. Because every time you negotiate with weakness, you lose strength. And every time you hold your line, you gain power. That's the law. That's the truth. That's the difference between the ordinary and the unbreakable. Weakness is not the enemy. It's the test. It's the doorway between who you are and who you're becoming. Every time you feel resistance, you're standing at that doorway, and you have a choice. Step forward through discipline or step backward into comfort. You can't do both. You can't serve both strength and softness. You can't claim mental toughness while obeying your emotions. The unbreakable mind recognizes weakness for what it is, an invitation to grow stronger. So when the voice says, take it easy, you answer, not today. When it says, you deserve a break, you answer, I deserve progress. That's how you win the battle within.
Weakness loves comfort. It thrives in indecision. It feeds on hesitation. It disguises itself as self-care, as rest, as balance. But the truth? Weakness doesn't want balance. It wants control. It wants you to lower your standards just once. It wants you to skip just one day. Because weakness knows, once you start negotiating, it owns you. That's why you must be ruthless with your boundaries. No deals, no bargains, no excuses. You have a mission, and the mission doesn't care how you feel. You don't need to feel good to do good work. You don't need to be comfortable to stay consistent. You don't need permission to keep going. You just need discipline. And that's the key. Discipline silences weakness, because discipline doesn't ask for your feelings. It demands your focus. Every time you obey your emotions, you weaken your edge. But every time you act on principle, you sharpen it. That's how mental toughness is built. Not through comfort, but through consistency. When you say no to weakness, you say yes to strength. When you refuse to negotiate, you grow. When you stay consistent through discomfort, you become unbreakable. This isn't about being harsh, it's about being honest. You can't build a strong mind on soft habits. You can't train resilience in comfort. And you can't reach your potential if you keep reasoning with the part of you that wants to quit. You have a choice: feed weakness with excuses or starve it with discipline. That's how you take your power back. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Weakness never leaves. It waits. It waits for your lowest moment. It waits for your tired days. It waits for your doubts. But if you build the habit of non-negotiation, you won't fall for its trap. You'll recognize the pattern. You'll say, "I know what this is, and I'm not listening." That's not arrogance. That's awareness. That's strength through repetition. That's training your mind to obey your mission, not your mood. Because moods change, feelings shift. But purpose? Purpose stays. The unbreakable mind doesn't wait to feel ready. It acts, then lets the feelings catch up. It moves first, then builds momentum. That's the secret. Motion before motivation. You act your way into strength. You don't think your way there. Weakness negotiates. Strength decides. Weakness looks for comfort. Strength looks for challenge. Weakness says, maybe tomorrow. Strength says, now. You know which one wins. You've seen it in every great leader, every disciplined athlete, every calm warrior. They all have one thing in common. They don't negotiate with the voice of weakness. Because the moment you start negotiating, you've already surrendered control. You've given power to the part of you that doesn't care about your future. And you can't build an unbreakable life by surrendering to a temporary feeling. That's why you must be relentless, uncompromising, calm, but firm. You can be kind to yourself, but you can't be soft on your standards. Say this phrase until it becomes instinct. I don't negotiate with weakness. Say it when you wake up tired. Say it when you want to quit early. Say it when you doubt your ability. Because repetition builds identity. And once your identity is disciplined, your actions follow. You don't even have to think. You just do. That's the level you're aiming for. Automatic execution, habitual strength, emotional control under pressure. That's what the unbreakable mind is made of. Here's the paradox. When you stop negotiating with weakness, life actually gets easier. Not because the world softens, but because your mind hardens. You stop fighting with yourself. You stop doubting your ability. You stop draining energy on internal conflict. Your path becomes clear. Act, assess, adjust. Never negotiate. That's the rhythm of strength. That's the language of mastery. And when you build that level of internal certainty, you no longer need validation from others, because your standards are self-created, your confidence is self-earned, your peace is self-protected.
Weakness can knock, but it won't get in, because you've built mental armor. And that armor is made of decisions. Thousands of small, disciplined decisions that say, not today, not ever. That's how you become unbreakable. Not by eliminating weakness, but by mastering your response to it. You'll still feel it, you'll still hear it, but you'll recognize it for what it is, a test of will. And every time you refuse to negotiate, you pass that test. So the next time weakness whispers, smile, because that's your moment to rise. That's your chance to prove you've grown. That's your opportunity to strengthen your discipline. Remember, you are not your feelings, you are your standards. And the higher your standards, the quieter your weakness becomes. You've built control, you've built discipline. Now it's time to build consistency, the daily fortress that keeps you strong when life gets noisy.
Chapter 7. Build the Fortress of Routine. Routine is not boring. Routine is protection. Routine is the wall that separates you from chaos, distraction, and weakness. Without routine, your day is a storm. With routine, your day is a fortress, solid, predictable, unstoppable. The unbreakable mind doesn't wait for inspiration. It doesn't chase motivation. It shows up every day, no exceptions. Because momentum is built through repetition, not excitement. Every great performer, every elite athlete, every disciplined leader, every master of their craft has one thing in common. They have a system, a structure, a routine so consistent it runs automatically. Why? Because structure is freedom. Structure eliminates decision fatigue. Structure protects your energy. Structure guarantees that the most important actions happen even when you don't feel like it. You have a choice every morning. You can wake up and let the day dictate your actions, or you can wake up and dictate the day with your routine. That's power. That's control. That's calm in a world designed to scatter you. The unbreakable mind builds a fortress with small bricks. Wake up at the same time. Exercise your body. Plan your work. Execute your priorities. Reflect. Sleep. Repeat. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's effective. Every repetition strengthens the wall. Every habit builds the foundation. Every disciplined action reinforces your defenses. And the stronger your routine, the harder it is for weakness, chaos, or distraction to penetrate. You have a choice: chaotic freedom or structured power. Chaos feels thrilling at first, but it destroys results. Routine feels rigid at first, but it builds unstoppable momentum. Choose momentum. Here's the key. Your routine must be intentional, not random, not convenient. Every action must have purpose. Every habit must reinforce your mission. Every repetition must advance your vision. The unbreakable mind doesn't just go through the motions. It designs its day to protect what matters most. It anticipates obstacles. It removes friction. It guards against weakness. Think of it like a fortress. The walls aren't built in a day. They're built brick by brick. Every morning you wake up on time, you lay a brick. Every workout, every study session, every planned action, another brick. And soon you have walls strong enough to withstand storms that would crumble others. The secret is simple. Consistency beats intensity. You don't need massive effort once in a while. You need small effort repeated daily. That's how routine becomes armor. That's how momentum becomes mastery. Routine also eliminates excuses. When you know exactly what to do and when to do it, there's no room to debate. There's no room to delay. There's no room to negotiate with weakness. Discipline and routine go hand in hand.
Discipline gives you the standard. Routine ensures you meet it. Without routine, discipline falters. Without discipline, routine is meaningless. Repetition reinforces identity. The more you do the right actions, the more you become the person who does them naturally. The unbreakable mind doesn't rely on motivation. It relies on identity. And identity is built by daily habits repeated without fail. You don't need to feel strong. You need to act strong every day. Eventually, feeling strong follows action. Eventually, confidence becomes automatic. Eventually, your fortress is complete. Say this mantra daily. My routine is my fortress. Say it when you wake up. Say it when you feel tired. Say it when distractions knock. Because repetition builds security, and security builds freedom, and freedom builds calm. When life gets chaotic, your routine holds you. When the world pressures you, your structure steadies you. When weakness tempts you, your habit defends you. The unbreakable mind is unshaken not because life is easy, but because routine shields it. Routine removes uncertainty. Routine prevents regret. Routine strengthens the mind one day at a time. Remember, your fortress isn't about rigidity. It's about control. It's about protecting what matters most. It's about building momentum you can't lose. Every day you follow your plan, you reinforce the walls. Every day you execute without negotiation, you secure your foundation. Every day you prioritize, you expand your territory. Weakness cannot enter where routine reigns. Distraction cannot penetrate where structure dominates. Fear cannot shake where habit strengthens. This is why the unbreakable mind doesn't hope for the perfect day. It creates the perfect system. It doesn't wait for clarity. It enforces consistency. It doesn't negotiate with chaos. It builds its fortress. Your task today: identify the habits that protect your energy. Schedule the actions that move you forward. Commit to executing them without compromise. Repeat every day till your fortress becomes instinct. When your foundation is solid, nothing shakes you. When your momentum is steady, nothing stops you. When your routine is sacred, nothing breaks you. You've learned control. You've learned discipline. You've learned not to negotiate with weakness. Now, you're learning how to defend everything you've built.
Chapter 8. Silence is a superpower. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. It's the space where clarity grows. It's the pause that prevents chaos from controlling you. It's the weapon of the unbreakable mind. Most people fear silence. They fill it with noise, chatter, scrolling, and distractions. Because noise is comfort. Noise is avoidance. Silence, by contrast, forces you to face yourself. It forces you to think. It forces you to feel, and feel accurately. The unbreakable mind embraces silence. It knows that in stillness, strength accumulates. Decisions become clearer. Emotions become manageable. Focus becomes sharper. Silence is where you hear the truth, not the story you tell yourself, but reality. It's where strategy is born. It's where resilience is reinforced. It's where mental armor is polished. Every moment you spend in silence, you train your attention. You remove the distractions that fragment your mind. You stop reacting to every ping, every message, every external stimulus. You reclaim control. You reclaim energy. You reclaim calm. The unbreakable mind is never hurried by external noise. It moves with patience, precision, and purpose.
because it has practiced stillness. Think of a soldier in the field. The battlefield is chaotic, loud, dangerous, but the soldier who pauses, who observes, who listens in silence, that soldier survives. That soldier wins. Because silence allows judgment. Silence allows strategy. Silence allows mastery. You have a choice. Fill your mind with noise or feed it with clarity. Most people choose noise, but clarity, calm, and power are born in silence. Repeat this mantra. Silence is my superpower. Say it when your mind races. Say it when the world demands attention. Say it when doubt creeps in. Because every time you reclaim silence, you reclaim yourself. Silence is also a shield. It protects you from reactionary words, from impulsive decisions, from wasted energy. It prevents you from negotiating with weakness. It stops chaos before it spreads. In silence, you can plan, you can think, you can create, you can observe your emotions without letting them control you. Without silence, you live at the mercy of everything external. With silence, you live at the command of your internal power. Silence is not passive, it's active preparation. It's mental rehearsal. It's observation turned into strategy. The unbreakable mind uses silence to sharpen itself. It listens more than it speaks. It watches more than it reacts. It waits until the right moment to act, and then it acts decisively. When you speak too much, you lose energy. When you react too quickly, you lose control. When you fill every space with noise, you lose clarity. Silence restores it all. It's not about hiding. It's not about weakness. It's about choosing when to speak, when to act, and when to preserve your power. Every strong leader, every elite performer, every disciplined mind understands this. Silence is where preparation meets opportunity. Silence is where patience becomes strategy. Silence is where power multiplies quietly. You can't fake it, you can't outsource it. Silence must be practiced. It must be repeated. It must be protected. When your mind is quiet, your decisions are clear. When your mind is calm, your actions are precise. When your mind is disciplined, nothing external can shake you. Silence is the ultimate tool for emotional control. It stops panic. It stops distraction. It stops the pull of weakness. So practice it. Turn off the noise. Sit still. Breathe. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Build the habit of being alone with yourself, not lonely, but present. The stronger you get in silence, the more effective you become in action. Because action without clarity is wasted energy. Action with clarity is unstoppable momentum. Say it one more time. Silence is my superpower. Carry it with you. Protect it fiercely. Use it deliberately. The world will demand your attention. The chaos will call your name. The noise will pull you every way it can. But the unbreakable mind, your mind, responds with calm. Because you've mastered silence. Because you've made it your fortress. Because you know that power often speaks softly before it strikes decisively. You've built routines. You've controlled your reactions. You've disciplined yourself. Now, through silence, you consolidate all of that strength into clarity, calm, and unstoppable focus. Chapter 9. Adapt or Get Left Behind.
The world doesn't wait. It doesn't pause for anyone. It doesn't slow down for comfort or convenience. If you stand still, you fall behind. That's the reality. The unbreakable mind doesn't resist change, it masters it. Adaptation is not optional. It's survival. It's power. It's the difference between those who thrive and those who stagnate. Most people resist change because it's uncomfortable. It threatens identity. It demands effort. It exposes weakness. But growth lives on the other side of discomfort, and change is the bridge. You have a choice: fight the current or learn to swim. Fight the current and you exhaust yourself. Learn to swim and the current propels you forward. That's the key. That's the unbreakable mindset. Adaptation begins with awareness. You must see reality clearly. Not how you wish it were, but how it is. You must acknowledge threats, challenges, and opportunities without denial. Denial is weakness in disguise. Acceptance is power in action. Once you accept reality, you can respond. You can adjust your strategy. You can modify your actions. You can preserve your momentum instead of losing it. The unbreakable mind is like water, flexible yet unstoppable. It doesn't resist the shape of the container. It molds to circumstances while maintaining its essence. It's disciplined, but adaptable. It's strong, but flexible. It's focused, but open to change. You have a choice. Stubbornness kills progress. Flexibility preserves it. Adapt or get left behind. There's no middle ground. Adaptation also requires speed. You can't ponder every change endlessly. You can't wait for perfect conditions. Action must follow awareness immediately. The world rewards the fast and the decisive, not the indecisive and the fearful. The unbreakable mind sees a shift and moves. It doesn't debate endlessly. It doesn't complain. It doesn't negotiate with weakness. It adapts. Every setback is an opportunity to adapt. Every obstacle is a lesson in flexibility. Every failure is a signal that your approach must evolve. You have a choice. Repeat the same mistakes or adjust your method. The unbreakable mind chooses adjustment, because persistence without adaptation is stubbornness. Persistence with adaptation is unstoppable power. Adaptation also requires humility. You must admit when your old methods no longer work. You must be willing to learn. You must listen to feedback from the world, from results, from experience. Weak minds resist learning. Strong minds embrace it. The unbreakable mind knows the faster you learn, the faster you adapt, the stronger you become. Think of nature. The strongest animals are not the largest or the fastest. They are the most adaptable. They survive storms, scarcity, and predators because they adjust, evolve, and respond intelligently. You are no different. Mental toughness is not rigid resistance. It is intelligent adaptation. It is mastering your environment while mastering yourself. Repeat this mantra. I adapt, I overcome, I advance. Say it when obstacles appear. Say it when plans fail. Say it when change feels uncomfortable. Because adaptation is not weakness. It's foresight. It's intelligence. It's courage disguised as flexibility. Resistance to change is wasted energy. Energy spent complaining, fearing, or denying is energy lost. The unbreakable mind channels that energy into movement. Movement toward solutions, toward improvement, toward survival and success. Adaptation also protects your peace. When you adjust, you prevent unnecessary conflict. You prevent wasted effort. You prevent frustration. The unbreakable mind chooses peace over panic. It chooses clarity over chaos. It chooses forward motion over stagnation. You don't need everything to be perfect. You don't need everyone to agree. You don't need certainty. You just need flexibility. You just need awareness. You just need courage. Because the world will continue to change whether you are ready or not. And if you don't change with it, you will fall behind. So here's the choice again, simple and absolute. Adapt or get left behind. Every decision, every action, every day, you must ask, am I adjusting to reality or resisting it? The answer will determine your progress. The answer will determine your resilience. The answer will determine whether you remain unbreakable or break. You've learned to stop panicking. You've detached from outcomes. You've respected pain. You've controlled what you can. You've disciplined yourself. You've refused to negotiate with weakness. You've built routines. You've embraced silence. Now you've learned to evolve, to bend, flex, and grow stronger through change. The next step is to combine all of this into unstoppable momentum, consistent action that cannot be derailed.
Chapter 10. Momentum is your mastery. Momentum is not magic. Momentum is habit. Momentum is the compound result of discipline, focus, and consistent action. The unbreakable mind doesn't wait for motivation. It doesn't hope for perfect conditions. It creates movement every day, every hour, every moment. Momentum turns small actions into massive results. Momentum makes the difficult easy. Momentum turns resistance into routine. And the unbreakable mind knows the fastest way to mastery is through continuous, unrelenting motion. The key is consistency, not intensity, not speed, not genius, consistency. Because repeated effort compounds over time. One disciplined action leads to another. One victory builds confidence for the next. One habit forms the foundation for unstoppable progress. You have a choice, sporadic bursts or steady progress. Bursts feel exciting. They feel powerful. But without consistency, they fade. Steady progress builds invincibility. Momentum doesn't stop. It doesn't falter. It doesn't negotiate with weakness. Momentum also protects against doubt. When you're moving, fear loses its grip. When you're moving, hesitation disappears. When you're moving, the unbreakable mind asserts control over uncertainty. Think of it this way. A rolling boulder doesn't need protection. It crushes obstacles in its path because it keeps moving. The unbreakable mind is that boulder, relentless, unstoppable, determined. But momentum must be intentional. Movement without direction is wasted energy. You don't just act, you act with purpose. Every step aligns with your mission.
Every habit reinforces your identity. Every repetition strengthens your foundation. That's why all the previous chapters matter. You've built control. You've built discipline. You've resisted weakness. You've embraced routines. You've practiced silence. You've adapted. Now momentum binds it all together. Momentum requires patience. It doesn't explode overnight. It grows quietly, steadily, and inevitably. The unbreakable mind trusts the process. It knows that every small action is a vote for the person it's becoming. And over time, those votes add up to unstoppable force. Here's the mantra. I move, I persist, I advance. Say it every morning. Say it every night. Say it when obstacles appear. Say it when weakness whispers. Because repetition fuels momentum, and momentum builds mastery. Momentum is also a shield. When life throws chaos, you keep moving. When pain threatens, you keep moving. When doubt arises, you keep moving. Nothing can stop consistent, focused motion. That's power. That's resilience. That's the hallmark of the unbreakable mind. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You create it with motion. You don't wait for clarity. You generate it with action. You don't wait for courage. You build it with movement. Every day, every hour, every decision contributes to momentum. Momentum is the silent force that compounds your growth. Momentum is the unbreakable mind in action. Momentum also makes challenges smaller. When you're rolling, obstacles feel like friction, not barriers. When you're moving, pain becomes feedback, not a stop sign. When you're moving, fear becomes energy, not a chain. Momentum transforms life into progress, struggle into growth, resistance into routine. The unbreakable mind never stops building momentum. It moves in alignment with purpose. It moves with discipline. It moves with intelligence. It moves regardless of circumstance. And that is mastery. The ability to turn intention into action. The ability to turn consistency into results. The ability to turn every challenge into a step forward. So here's your challenge. Start today. Move with purpose. Act with discipline. Resist weakness. Build your routines. Embrace silence. Adapt. And never stop moving. Momentum is not an outcome. It is a choice. It is a lifestyle. It is the unbreakable mind in motion. Remember, the world moves. The weak hesitate. The unbreakable advance. Momentum is your mastery. Momentum is your power. Momentum is your life. Closing thought. You are no longer reactive. You are intentional. You are disciplined. You are adaptable. You are unstoppable. Now go, move, persist, advance. Your unbreakable mind starts today, and it will never stop.
You have one mission. Master the battlefield of your own mind. The world will not get easier. The people around you will not always change. The storms will not stop. But if your mind becomes unbreakable, none of that matters. You will think clearly when others panic. You will act with discipline when others fold. You will stay calm when everything falls apart. Control your breath. Control your focus. Control your response.
because the one who controls their mind controls their life. From this moment forward, stop reacting. Start responding. Stop waiting for strength. Become it. This is your call to rise. Build the unbreakable mind because the world is not slowing down, and neither should you.